Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, and good morning, Asgard, from a very sick household here in Asgard. Yes, baby Thor, still sick, had to stay home from daycare today, and so will not be able to go as long as I had been able to go towards the end of last week. But obviously, baby Thor comes first. And I want to say thank you all for understanding having to cancel my Saturday stream because of that very reason. He seems to have a little bit of a stomach bug, and he still has some diarrhea. And obviously, that is not a good situation, not a good combination for daycare. And so stay at home, Papa Odin is back in his house. So we'll go for as long as we can. He is down napping right now. He was very, very tired, obviously. But again, thank you all very much for understanding. And actually, I need to adjust this camera just a little bit, though I'm sure that I'll totally mess it up. Ooh, I don't know. That seems a little too high. Split the difference. Split the difference. Now it just seems weird. I don't know. All right. I have no idea if that's any different or not. I had been having the wider screen on, and I started to realize, I don't know if I like having the wider screen. I like having the more narrow depth for the image. But anyway, thank you again for being here today. Today, we're going to talk about Black Widow. We're going to talk about Black Widow and the Black Widow box office because there is a lot of information. There is a lot of information being put out by various show websites, and also information being put out by Disney. This is the first time since the Disney Plus era began, the premium Disney Plus era began, where they've actually released numbers, which is why I call BS. If they had such an easy job putting out numbers, saying, look how successful, look how well our movies did, then tell me why they didn't do this for Mulan. Why didn't they do this for Raya and the Last Dragon? Why didn't they do this with other films that struggled tremendously at the box office? But Black Widow comes out, MCU. I think what it really shows you, and I think what it really tells us, is that they don't care about anything. They don't care about anything, any of their IPs, any of the products they put out, except for things like the MCU. And obviously that makes a lot of sense. The MCU has been a huge moneymaker for them, and it's their golden cow. And they're going to squeeze it, all life out of it, all creativity out of it, all goodness out of it for every last cent. So it actually makes sense when you take that into perspective. But yeah, the whole $60 million, it made $60 million over on Disney Plus, $20 million from American audiences alone. And then you break down the numbers of how many subscribers they have, and you realize maybe you shouldn't have put out that number. It was Laura, who is a mod and also a friend of the channel. Laura was putting this out in the Discord saying, wait a minute. If these are the numbers they have, and they claim to have 108 or so million subscribers, and they only made $60 million, you do the math on that. That's not a lot of people in their subscriber base buying this movie. If indeed that number is true and accurate, which I call BS on. But anyway, before going any further into that information, let's go ahead and say hello to some people because we're live on YouTube, Periscope, and DLive. So we got Blake St. Clair, welcome to the chat. Gonzalo Bergali, what's going on? Tina B, waking up this morning. Good morning to you, Tina B. Cold Era, that is a new name on the channel. Welcome to the chat. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. It really does help and mean a lot. Speaking of awesome people, by the way, Bifford a Hobbit, you are a legend, good sir. Not only is he currently a Patreon member, he also just signed up for Locals this morning. So shout out to Bifford a Hobbit, my newest subscriber on Locals. Thank you very much for that love and support, good sir. Really do appreciate it, man. And yes, the doggos are with me this morning. And they also have not been feeling well. For some reason, River has been really scared of storms. And before she had only ever been scared of fireworks, which is very common amongst dogs, but she had never really been afraid of storms. Now she's terrified every time we have thunderstorms. And we have the Thunder Vest. We got these treats that have, I forget the name of the chemical in it, but it's the illegal chemical that's in weed, essentially. Y'all should know what I'm talking about. Like there's these products now all over the place that have this in it. So there's these treats that have it, and they're supposed to have a calming effect. Doesn't work. CBD. Thank you very much, people. Yeah, CBD. So it's not working at all. So she's got the Thunder shirt on. Doesn't do squat. She's taking the treats. Doesn't do squat. And so that's going on. And then poor Willow is having seasonal allergies. So I had to clean her ears this morning, and one of them was, she's been scratching it. And so it's always sad to see, because you're like, oh, poor baby, I didn't know. And then, of course, now I'm also a little sick, probably from baby Thor, but man, oh man. Yep. Let's see. DC Big Oso Ya. Good morning to you. Mr. MH, thank you for tagging me. He says, Hail Odin in the chat, just dropping in to say hello, and God bless to all. Cannot stay for long. Well, thank you for stopping by. Elizabeth Lyons, who is a member on the channel, says, Hail, you take care of that little one, Odin will be fine. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, as I said, he's napping. One of the reasons why the show is where it is during this time of the day during the week is because it falls in line with his nap schedule. So that's why it actually ends up working out pretty well. But don't worry, I got the monitor in front of me, and if he wakes up or if anything happens, I'll be well aware. So if I randomly leave the stream early, you'll know why. But he's usually pretty good with his naps, even when he's sick. JM Cruz, welcome back. JKD Buck 76, welcome. Andrew Hoyle, hello, good sir, hello. We got ZK Man, hello, ZK Man. Thank you very much for being here. Elizabeth Lyons says, stop feeding him pizza. He can't have pizza yet. He's just on formula and purees and stuff like that for now. Some bits of fruit as well. See, JKD Buck 76, who's a member, says, Odin, go take care of that baby. Don't feel like you have to stream now. We understand. Baby Thor has the chunky sputters. As I said, don't worry. He is fine. If I couldn't do the stream, I wouldn't have done it. But it felt perfectly in line with his nap schedule. He is out. I put him down, and normally he'll cry for a little bit before going to sleep. No cries at all. Like, literally, I put him down, went to go get the monitor. By the time I put the monitor on, he was already out. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be tired today because, a lot of the energy is just being sucked out of him. So, as I said, I really do appreciate that as well. So thank you for understanding. And obviously, it's one of the reasons why the Asgardian community is so amazing, because y'all understand priorities. Y'all understand family first. And yeah, but don't worry. I got him up on my monitor right here. He's asleep. Got my sound on just in case. Thanatos Felicitas, what's going on? Have you experienced the joy of projectile vomiting yet? Only really, because he's only gotten into projectile vomiting only a couple of times. And the most recent one, it actually happened when my wife was watching him. So, and so of course, like I was on Park Hoppin'. And we were having our 9,000 subscriber celebration stream over there. And I had to leave because my wife comes in and is like, I've been, calling for you. I had my headphones on, so I couldn't hear. And it's because he had, it all started basically on Saturday afternoon is when that happened and started. So yeah, it's been a few days, but we're getting in touch because we're following all the instructions. He stopped that. So it's no longer coming out of that end. It's only coming out of one end now. But I would say that this is the one that's a little bit more concerning, I think, for me, because it's more of an issue of making sure that he stays hydrated. And luckily, he's keeping things down. So I guess that's a good thing. The worst thing is when it's coming out of both ends. But luckily, at least one end has stopped. And I'm sorry if anyone's like, ooh, I don't want to know all this information. But hey, the joys of being a father. Son Goku, hello. Welcome, Zacharat315, hello. Luke Zilla, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington says, football did not come home, but my buddy Odin is here to make Monday brilliant. Again, yeah, very sorry to hear that, Gary. Yeah, I mean, I wish I had followed the Euro Cup a little bit more than usual. because I had forgotten how exciting it can get, like how exciting football really is, and for American soccer. And one of the coolest things about it is just the aspect of countries fighting countries. Like, to have countries fighting each other in a peaceful, non-bloody fashion, or usually non-bloody fashion, is a pretty cool thing to see and a lot of fun. And I was reminded of the year where Iceland just started doing really well and kind of overperforming. And that was a fun year. And so I went back and I'm like, oh, I wish Iceland had gone pretty far. My wife and I have a very special place for Iceland in our hearts because that's where we went on our honeymoon. Yes, you heard that right. Honeymoon, Iceland. And it was during one of the worst blizzards they had in like 50 years. But we loved it because we love snow, and it made it just it made it a purely magical experience because everything was just covered. White powder. It was awesome. Commenting is dangerous. What's going on, Goblin Squatch? He's another one of my locals members. Thank you. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, told you Disney does Brewster's Millions. Certainly seems like it. Elizabeth Lyons says, did you just call ScarJo a cow? No, I did not. I'd be attacked probably if I had said that. Let's see. Andrew Hoyle. And if anyone believes the numbers put out by Fisney, then I've got a few bridges I'd like to sell you. Only used once, but twice the price. Yeah, and speaking of which, that reminds me, I wore today's, it's the Duck Fisney shirt. Yes. Great shirt. Great shirt. All right, let's see what's going on over on Odyssey. What's going on, Odyssey fam? We got GMuggy76 over there. Slane's Travels, and thank you very much. She's GMuggy76. And yeah, if you're watching on Odyssey, make sure you light up that fire button. And again, wherever you are, if you have a comment or question, at Odin, put at Odin at the very beginning of your comment, and I will be happy to read it aloud. All right, so go ahead and keep on commenting, having those conversations, and I'll go ahead and get this set up since I was a little behind today. Let me put this in studio mode so that I can then get my screen capture going. Okay, that looks good. And let's go to the website. Since I know I updated my chart yesterday and was not able to share it out because I updated it, and then we were dealing with a sick baby Thor situation, so I was not able to do anything past that. All right, so let's go ahead then and transition over. Boom, there it is. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this just a wee bit today. Box office numbers. A box office breakdown live, if you will. All right, so Black Widow reportedly made $158.8 million. This is just the box office because they also decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release our Disney Plus numbers. The first time ever that Disney has released said numbers. In fact, I think it's the first time that any streaming service has released any premium numbers to this level and to this extent. And it all comes down to the fact that Black Widow underperformed domestically this weekend. The film only made $80 million this weekend. I know some people might be saying, oh, well, $80 million, that's the most during the pandemic time. And you would be correct. Just to go ahead and show you that number. Again, Black Widow, $80 million in its opening weekend domestically. But keep this in mind. Fast and Furious 9, Fast 9, made $70 million. Not to mention, Black Widow made twice as much in its opening premiere Thursday showing than Fast 9 did. So we already know, based on those numbers, that Black Widow was obviously and is a somewhat popular movie. But to go and make twice as much as Fast 9 on Thursday, but then only make $10 million more overall, hopefully you can see how that's not nearly as impressive as it should have been. Also, remember that I was talking about this just the other day with the looking ahead, right? So Box Office Report is one that typically does this. And of course, they're going to spin saying it shatters pandemic record with super powered 80 million debut, 158 million global gross, and Disney Plus debut brings 60 million. And again, where does this number come from? Disney. Have they released any metrics to back up this data? No. They just say, oh yeah, we made 60 million. Oh yeah, we made 60 million this weekend. Black Widow, $80 million total. But what were they saying prior to this? What were they saying prior to this weekend? Let's try and see if I can find it. I was having some issues finding this last time, but let's see if they actually have their looking ahead numbers, because they like to do early projections. That's something that I typically, don't really do, because it's something that can easily get lost, right? Something that can easily get lost in translation. Don't tell me that they hit it. Don't tell me that they hid that number. Yeah, because normally they have their little looking ahead. Here's our long-term projections for what we think this film's going to do. Let's see. Okay, weekend box office. Where's y'all's looking ahead, Box Office Pro? Where's y'all's looking ahead? 83% of theaters reopened. Okay. Weekend takeaway, weekend estimate. Early weekend estimate. Okay. Where's your chart? Where's the long-term chart? Makes it hard. This is the reason why you always want to save information. Now, also, it could be, to be fair, it could also be that I'm looking in the wrong section. But I'm pretty sure. All right, tracking forecasts. Maybe this is the right section. Here it is. Okay. They weren't hiding it. Anyway, so this was their projection. All right. And remember that this projection had gone up. They had projected that the movie would make between $80 and $110 million. What that means is that this movie made the bottom end of the projections. This movie made the smallest amount of the projected numbers. So again, the range that was given was $80 to $110 million. It only made 80. Now, of course, Disney is now looking at that number saying, well, we actually made over 100 million, and we're the first to do that during the pandemic, because if you consider our Disney Plus numbers, which we promise is $60 million, we actually made over $100 million, right? We actually made like 140 million domestically. If you put those numbers, actually, technically 100 million exactly. Isn't it amazing? Because they also say, oh yeah, $60 million worldwide on Disney Plus. About 20 million of that from the domestic. Let me see. 80 million plus 20 million, that's 100 million. Oh, look, we're the first $100 million opening movie. Good for you. Good for you. But again, this was the box office range. This was not including Disney Plus numbers. This was the box office range. It made the smallest amount. It made the smallest amount in that range. Which means, conceivably, depending on how big or small the drop is next week, because that's when I'll start making some predictions, once I see that week 2 drop off. That means that, ideally, based on these same projections, this film's looking to make, $205 million domestically? Which you would say, hey, that's a pretty good number, especially during the pandemic times. But then you take into account the fact that this movie's not getting a China release, which is where the vast majority of these big budget films get their money from. And you're looking at a movie that's probably going to make $400, $500 million by the end of its run. And when you further consider the fact that it costs $300 million to produce and market the movie, $400 to $500 million is not enough to break even. Because again, it only gets 60% of the money from that. And even if you were to assume and consider Disney to be honest and truthful about their Disney Plus numbers, that still would leave a lot of money left to be made. Anyway, so $158.8 million. We're not counting Disney Plus because that's just what they're claiming. There's no way to verify that. There's no way of having a third-party source to verify that that number is accurate. I don't even think they put it out in an official statement or anything like that, so it's not like someone could sue them for putting out false information. It's just what all the news agencies are saying. It's like, well, Disney told us that they made this, or Disney said this, etc. So $158.8 million. Right now, that movie is sitting at negative $204 million. So again, big budget, big costs. You need to make a big return. You need to make a lot more on that investment to make that money back. But again, even assuming they made $60 million on Disney Plus, and assuming that they make 100% of that, which I think is a safe assumption, no matter what they make on Disney Plus or how many tickets they sold or how many, digital tickets they sold, they're going to get pretty much 100% of that because that is their own revenue. Still, you're looking at the film still being at negative $140 million. This film needs to make a lot of money. Either, whether you consider the Disney Plus numbers or not, it has to make a lot of money to break even. So again, next weekend, I'll be able to make some projections, because I have a system that's based on the first 2 weeks of release, and I'm able to give a range, and I'm able to give, okay, this is the likely scenario. So for instance, Boss Baby 2 had its second week total of $36.4 million. That means, based on estimates that I've done, again, I did a lot of research on this. If you go back a couple years, you'll find earlier videos where I break down kind of my methodology with this. You'll see that the range of this film, most likely, based on history and other movies and everything, is going to be somewhere between 52 and $72 million total. Meaning that this film is either going to lose $91 million or $79 million. So Boss Baby 2 is a flop. Boss Baby 2 is a flop based on the box office numbers. And so next week, I'll be able to punch in the numbers based on that week 2 estimate, and I'll be able to say, here is the range. And so I'll be able to know whether or not the film will be a financial success or not. Based on these early numbers, as impressive as they sound, because they are still missing that China equation, which, remember, is kind of a red herring, right? The China numbers are a red herring because they say, oh, look, we made $200 million, like Fast 9 says, oh, look, we made over $200 million in China. Oh, let's not talk about how we only get 25% of that. That $200 million becomes a lot less impressive when you take that into account. So they don't even get that, though, which means they have to perform incredibly well in all of these different markets with a movie that's getting mixed reviews at best. Now, I know there's some people saying, well, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, or, oh, well, if you look at the Cinema Score, both of which are complete crap, we're dealing with a film that's an objectively bad movie. It's an objectively bad movie. I'm sure if you've been on Twitter or social media, you've seen these clips going around of the garbage tier CGI. There's one where, was it Yolana or whatever her name is? I really don't care. Great actress, Florence Pugh, but I don't care about these characters at all. Where she's like, this was fun, and then an explosion happens and she flies off. And it just looks awful and terrible, and not how explosions work. It's awful. And then you have the other clip going around where Natasha breaks her nose so that way she can't smell the pheromones that control her. Which, by the way, I had no idea that if you broke your nose right away, that any pheromones in your system already automatically disappear. Had no idea that's how it worked. But literally she breaks her nose, which is also not accurate either about how smell and stuff like that works, but breaks her nose and immediately, oh, now I can do whatever I want. Not really how it works. Such a bad movie. It's an objectively bad movie. And I say objectively bad because the editing is not good. They have like 10,000 cuts per scene, which is not good editing. If you can see and feel edits in a movie, there's an issue there. Editors are supposed to be invisible. Editors, the best editors, are the ones where you can't even tell that a film had any real edits at all. Right? You're so lost in the story, the pacing is so good where you're just like, I'm enjoying it, I'm not even noticing these things. In this movie, there are 1,000 cuts in every scene, even slow scenes. Not to mention the fact that there's shaky cam in all of the action scenes, and there's shaky cam in slow scenes. I mentioned this in my review. Literally at the end, when you have a character going to a grave, they had to do it handheld, shaky cam, with 1,000 cuts. That's an objectively bad way to make movies. It's an objectively bad film. So we'll see what that week 2 drop-off is going to be. I think it's going to be big. I think when I come back next week, my projections are going to be all in the negative. And then everyone and their mother is going to be like, oh, well, you're not including the Disney Plus numbers. And so if you include the Disney Plus numbers, actually, it's going to make money. And even if we give them that, it's not going to be a massive return on the investment. It's not going to be the highest grossing net gain profit film of the year. And for an MCU film to not even be in consideration for being one of the highest net gain profit films of the year, that's bad. That's really, really bad. Because like as of right now, one of the highest grossing films of the year is A Quiet Place Part 2, which has $75.9 million net gain. Net gain, net gross. Conjuring 3, $51.1 million net gain, net gross. Right now, Black Widow's at negative $204 million. Don't believe any of the spin people are telling you. It's got a lot of way. It's got a long, long way to go before this film makes any of its money back. Because the false presumption out there still to this day, people still think studios get 100% of their box office gains. Factually inaccurate. People think, oh, if I just subtract the amount, according to that, oh, well, if you take into account the Disney Plus numbers, they only have less than $100 million to make back. Not true. They've got more than $204 million to make back as well. Because again, they only get 60% of the gross. And that's by the end of the run. Right? So this is assuming the end of the run numbers. But yeah. Stupid, stupid, stupid movie. Stupid company. All ridiculous. All right, we did have a super chat about 13 minutes ago. The R, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, ScarJo's comments just proves that hypocrisy doesn't matter to today's left. No. They don't care about truth or honesty or standards. Why would they? They just care about getting their paycheck. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the chat. Good morning to you, Tina. It's 9:07 in the chat, 9:29 in real life, so 20 minutes behind. I'm right on schedule, just the way that it goes. JM Cruz tagged and says, got a couple of internet scuffles this weekend when I said Dustin Poirier will beat McGregor. Black Widow isn't as good as they think it was. I don't know much about fighting, so I can't say much of that first one, but no, Black Widow is not good at an objective level. You can say you enjoyed it. That's subjective. That's an opinion. I can't take that away from you. I can't say that your opinion is wrong if you enjoyed it. But if you say it's a good movie, no. You don't have a right to say that because it's an objectively bad film. Elizabeth Lyon says, one of my dogs spends time in the tub when we have storms. Yeah, River has been going to the restroom. And yeah, it's something that she hasn't done before, though. It's interesting. Kevin Ma, what's going on? Soul Extraction, welcome. Good morning to you. Thank you for being a member on the channel. And JaggedABuck76 says, a good ear cleaner for dogs is Vetoniquil ear cleaning solution, very easy to use. So we have one. We have like a legit ear cleaner, and it works really well too. It's just a pain because she hates it, of course, because liquid gets in her ears. And even if we soak it up afterwards, it's still there. By the way, I just realized that River's at my feet. So I guess she's still a little afraid. Andrew Hoyle, I will not puree pizza for him. No. Brightburn 1985. All Father, I hear good things about Batman The Long Halloween Part 1, but this could all change with Long Halloween Part 2. Hopefully it's not that bad. Yeah, I typically don't watch a lot of the animated DC films. I hear they're very good. I just don't really feel like they're my cup of tea. Mike Healy, welcome to the channel. Appreciate you being here today. Let's see. Judah Khan. What's going on, Judah Khan? All right. Bifford the Hobbit says, I predict Black Widow will perform very well next week. It will make $35 to $40 million domestic box office next weekend. If that is the case, that would make it a 50% drop, at least domestically. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that the film's going to perform well by pandemic standards, but that is still not enough. with how much they spend on these movies, that's not enough. If it's at 35 to 40, even if it's only a 50% drop, I don't think that's going to be enough for it to break even. Because that would put it, worldwide, maybe close to $250 million worldwide, which again, sounds really good. But based on those projections, I don't think that would be enough. Mr. Peabody, what's going on, good sir? Glad to see you in the chat. Andrew Hoyle says, as an Englishman, I didn't watch a single second of the championship. Had no interest in seeing a bunch of overpaid crybabies taking a knee before each match. Oh, were they really doing that? Yeah, I wouldn't want to support that either then. Bifford Hobbit. A documentary about Anthony Bourdain is dropping in theaters this Friday. I don't really know much about Anthony Bourdain, to be honest. The R. Again, thank you again for that super chat. Appreciate it. Gary Banjo Sandwich. How do those point things work on Odyssey? Should I just send you mine as I have no clue what they do? Yeah, absolutely. Basically, those tokens are cryptocurrency. So it's the cryptocurrency that Odyssey uses. And I want to say the last time I checked, they were worth like 13 cents each or something, or maybe even less than that. But yeah, you can do hyper chats over there and you can donate as much as you want. The value of the crypto changes over time. Very similar if you know anything about Ethereum or Bitcoin and the values. I guess to take it out of those terms, people know gold and silver at the very least, right? You know how gold and silver change in value? It's very similar, only cryptocurrency is a lot more volatile. So you see a lot more heavy shifts in value over time. Peabody, that is not true. Peabody, I'm sorry, dude. I love you. It's not a good movie. You can enjoy it. You can say that you enjoyed it. It's not an objectively good movie. It's an objectively bad movie. All you need to do is look at cinematography, editing, and writing. All three of those areas are incredibly weak and not well done. The editing is bad. Cinematography is bad. Again, those are objective qualities. It's an objectively bad movie, man. And again, you can enjoy it. You can say, I liked it. You can say, I had fun with it. Doesn't make it a good movie. Good is an objective standard. This is not a good movie. Period. All right. Snortabubus Cuber, what's going on, man? It says, hello, humans and other quitters. What's going on? Hello to you. Hello. Fathead Druid. Oh, man. All right, let's see. General Wingster, hello. Hello to you, good sir. Appreciate you being here. Peabody, who's a member, says, if you have Disney Plus, The Art of Racing in the Rain is a good movie. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I know it doesn't have a dog in it. I like dogs. Let's see. The Physics Channel, Kenny Lee, what's going on? Lakeland Dental Arts, hello to you. Lakeland Art says, I not only spared ScarJo for my toxic male gaze, I spared Disney for my toxic male dollars. I'm sure that Disney shareholders appreciate my virtue. Yeah, I mean, in their own words, right? Well, we don't want your money. We don't want your money. Good morning to you, Peabody. I wasn't calling you out, dude. I'm just saying it how it is. It's an objectively bad movie. And again, you can enjoy anything. People enjoy Godzilla vs. Kong. Doesn't make it a good movie. Let's see. Commenting is dangerous says, did you ever notice when an artist creates art for Friday Night Tights, Odin is either in the middle or the top? I think they recognize that he is the heart of the show, even if he talks less than everyone else. Well, thank you for that. Commenting is dangerous. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think part of it is probably to be honest, I think part of it is the fact that I go by Odin. You know, like I think that because Odin itself, I think that kind of already leads itself to being kind of a central point. I would also say that people love the pizza gag. They love the pizza gag. I also am very active in the chat, and I try to respond to as many people as I can. So I think that might also be why, even though I'm not as known by people who just listen to or watch the show, anyone who's in the chat during the night knows that I'm always there. Always watching. Trent Johnson. Good morning to you, good sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. General Wingster. Well, Odin, if you look at the charts. Which charts are you looking at? Which charts are you looking at? Oh, that's interesting. Luke Zilla says, even Scott Mendelson was saying Disney was cheating by putting the Disney Plus numbers with the box office. Yeah, that's interesting. I would not have expected that from Scotty Boy Mendelson. I would not have expected that from him. And again, it's something that I honestly feel is really bad, especially when you consider the fact that they've, as I said earlier, they have never released those numbers before. And all that we can go off of is their word. And I think that might be actually why Scotty Boy actually said something about it, is because in his industry, they rely heavily on reports. They rely heavily on reports from third-party independent sources who can verify. Because obviously the studios can report various numbers, but they can check it versus what movie theaters are reporting. And again, there's other people that actually will track this information. So it's a lot harder to skew numbers because of that. What Disney has done by trying to claim $60 million by Disney Plus is to say, we're behind now not only is access to the movie behind a paywall, it's also behind a premium behind a paywall. And the only people who have access to the raw numbers and data are us. And we don't report those numbers on a regular basis. Now, if Disney had started or does start to actually put out charts every single week reporting how well their movies do, maybe with that transparency, we would have more trust in those numbers. But they don't do that. And even if they did, there would probably still be some questions. But the fact that they don't do that makes these numbers very suspect. Especially, as I said, because I don't think they put this out in any official capacity other than leaking it to people and putting it out as a general statement. And I guarantee if I actually could see how they worded it, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some language trickery in there. Like trying to say, oh, well, based on metrics, we can predict that the film made about this much money. I would not be surprised. Would not be surprised if that was the case. Odin's face of judgment. There's a great clip on Twitter that I retweeted. And so someone, there was originally a video for Friday Night Tights. It was where we had Chrissy Mayer on. And she had said a joke and everyone laughed. And for me, the joke, I have a certain type of humor. And I think kind of like that shock jock humor doesn't really get me as much. I don't really like that kind of humor as much. So everyone on the panel's laughing. And so someone decided to recut the video and zoom in on my face because I was just not amused. And so instead it's my face of judgment. I appreciate that thumbnail too, man. It says, now, your face from Friday Night Tights is a real meme now. I'm surprised that it's taken people this long. I really am surprised that it's taken people this long to see my reactions, because I'm reacting to stuff like all the time. Laura, thank you. Yeah, it wasn't that it was on the webpage. It was that it was in a separate section, so yeah. Let's see here. Mr. Peabody, if you counted 1,000 cuts in every scene, your film was broken. Well, again, obviously that's hyperbole, but there's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of cuts in every single scene. Andrew Hoyle says Taskmaster is pretty cool character in the comics. He is also called Tony Masters, not some generic Russian name, so fits in with yawn-inducing backstory. Oh yeah, everything with Taskmaster was bad. Everything with it was bad. Even if you're not as into the comics, like for instance, I'm not as much of a comic expert. When they did that reveal, I was like, that was the dumbest reveal ever. Because even had I not known what that character was going to be, as far as gender is concerned, I would have been able to pick that up immediately. Because it's very clear when they're like, oh, look at this explosion. It's like, guarantee you that character's going to come back in some way. Oh, wait, now there's this masked figure running around. I wouldn't be surprised if that's his daughter. Oh, what do you know? It's his daughter. Oh, big shocker. And again, that really is when you understand that the writing is really not good. The writing is not good. It's not a well-written story. All right, let's see. Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father. Thank you for being a member of the channel. Says, saw Black Widow last night, 1.5 out of 4. I ranked it 18 out of the 24 MCU films. That sounds about right, Father. For me, from an objective standard, I think the editing and cinematography in Captain Marvel was better. Like, objectively, that had better cinematography and editing. Visual effects, I would say, I would have to watch Captain Marvel again, which I'm not going to and don't want to do. But I would say they're probably on par with each other, to be honest. However, the one caveat being this film was made years after Captain Marvel, which means the technology should be better, and it's not. So take that for what you will. But yeah, it's definitely not good. That's for sure. Let's see. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member of the channel, says, but Florence Pugh, she'll win an Oscar for it. Florence Pugh's great. Like, the one really great part, and really the only really good part of this movie, is Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh is a very talented, and I've said this before, she's a very talented actress. If you don't want to watch Black Widow to see that, I understand. But if you do want to see her to get an idea of her performance, I do recommend Fighting With My Family, where she plays real-life wrestler Paige, going through her backstory and her history and her eventual entering into the WWE as a wrestler. It's a great film. It's funny to boot, and she gives an incredible performance in it. So I would say Florence Pugh is fantastic. It's great, or she's great. And it's sad that her character, because I think her character could have been really cool. It actually could have been something to look forward to in the MCU during a time when there's not a whole lot to look forward to. But it's not, you know? All right, let's see here. Father says, speaking of the left, free Cuba. Yeah. Have y'all seen these news stories? This is more so for Thursday's morning show, so we won't go too far into it. But have y'all seen the news media saying protesters yelling freedom and other anti-government sentiments in Cuba, painting the protesters down there as some crazy radical anti-government movement? It's like, you do realize that there's communism in that country, right? You do realize that communism is an objective evil. Frickin' New York Times news media. If you like it so much, why don't you move there? Oh, wait, that's right. You won't. And even if he did, you'd probably be living in a palace somewhere. Thunderduck, what's going on? Thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it. General Wingster, thank you for tagging. Says, I have every right to deny truth and facts about Black Widow. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? General Wingster. Still quiet over on Odyssey, but thank you all for watching on Odyssey if you are watching over there. Appreciate it. Mr. Peabody, who's a member, says, River needs to be around you. She senses you. If you're not worried about thunder and lightning, she will be okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because the personalities of River and Willow are so unique, because River is absolutely that I have to be next to you at all times personality. So if we leave the room, she has to follow us. Whereas Willow, there's been times when one time my wife was working downstairs, the dogs were with her, and she went upstairs, and there's a door with the stairs going up. And so she had closed the door and hadn't realized that Willow wasn't with her. So when we went downstairs, Willow was just waiting by the door. No issue, no problem, no crying. But there's been other times where she'll just stay. So she'll just be curled up in a ball in the bed, just staying. Or if the gate going downstairs is open and the door's open, sometimes she'll just disappear. And if we go downstairs to try and find her, she'll be curled up in one of the dog beds downstairs, or there's a bed in one of the guest rooms with this like dog mat over it, so there's no dog hair and stuff on it. And sometimes she'll just be curled up on that. So it's so funny because she can go off, be on her own, you know, and be totally fine. But she also gets so jealous. So it's just interesting to see those different dynamics. But River, she has to be next to you at all times, but she's not as cuddly. See, Willow is incredibly cuddly. Like, we can flip her upside down and like have her literally right next to us on the couch and she's just upside down being a goofball. And if you try to do that with River, she's like, nope, my terms. Nope, gotta be on my terms. And then like she only gets cuddly when she wants something or when she's scared. And even when she's scared, it's interesting. But yeah. The Physics Channel with Kenny Lee says many of Disney Marvel movies and shows are for people that don't know the comic book stories. Yeah, I would say that's accurate because, you know, I have very limited knowledge of Taskmaster. I've at the very least played the Spider-Man game all the way through. And one of the coolest parts of the Spider-Man game on PS4 was the interaction with Taskmaster. It was really awesome. It was really cool. But they ruined it in the way that they portrayed how this character is a mimic. With the whole computer chip in the brain being controlled. And then also the fact that they very clearly had a man in that suit. Because the actress there, her first name is Olga. Very beautiful actress. Does not have that body type. Not anywhere close to that body type. Most women, 99% of women, could not ever hope to have that body type. Because of a little thing called biology. So the fact that they actually went so far to try and make people believe that Taskmaster was a man and think, oh, we're going to be so clever with this. We're going to reveal Taskmaster. And guess what? He's going to be a lady. And not only is he going to be a lady, he's going to be the daughter of the guy with the pheromones. So stupid. So stupid. Let's see. Comedy is dangerous. Thanks for tagging. He says, Ryan Cannell pointed out how dumb it was at the end that the whole plot would have fallen apart when they got taken by the bad guy if he had taken their super spy suits from them. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, the whole reveal of, oh yeah, it was just a mask. For sure. And of course, the other one being how Black Widow was able to get... How in the world was she able to get the vials out of the very secure suitcase thing all within a matter of seconds? All within a matter of seconds. Now, again, I would say that there's other films where that stuff happens, and I would say people probably don't point that out normally when it does happen. But those are in movies that are typically meant to be more just, really stupid and just be stupid fun kind of thing. And I guess some might try and argue, well, that's what Marvel's supposed to be, or that's what Marvel has been in the past. But this movie was trying to take itself very seriously. Even though it had some comedic elements in it, they weren't funny. Or at least I don't think the jokes landed nearly as well as they had hoped or thought that it would. But when that kind of stuff happens, you're like, in a movie filled with so many issues, we're going to talk about it, right? In a movie filled with a plethora of problems and issues with story alone, I mean, it's going to happen. Laura Story, good morning to you. Mr. Peabody says, my dog used to sleep through thunder and lightning. I wish my dogs could, dude. I wish my dogs could. See, Willow would be fine. Willow is a trooper. She wouldn't have any issues, but poor Willow. Peabody says, still looking forward to Top Gun 2 Maverick. I cannot wait. Because as I said, I got to go to a movie theater for the first time in over 8 months last week, going to see A Quiet Place Part 2. And one of the trailers was Top Gun. And man, that movie, obviously it's still too early to tell. I will say, one, the trailer, very well done. I think the trailer does its job getting you hyped for that movie and for that story. Whether it's good or not, it's going to depend on the movie. I don't typically prejudge movies before going to see them. I try to go in with as much of an open mind as I possibly can. I know that that's not always possible, especially in the world that we live in today where so much stuff about plot gets leaked and everything. But I can say this. So this is not talking about the movie, but I can say this as a fact because the trailer already shows it. The cinematography in this film is going to be gorgeous. The shots alone with the jets, even just seeing them in a trailer, are already by themselves an impressive feat in cinematography. It's a feat that's never been done before, to my knowledge. Getting shots like that at that high quality rate in an actual jet. Not to mention that all of the actors are in the jets. They're not flying them, but they're still actors in these jets, experiencing the G-forces. I think that's awesome. One of the coolest things about that movie, I would argue, is probably going to be when it comes out on 4K and they have the behind the scenes footage, because that is something I'm going to want to pick up right away just for the behind the scenes footage. Because Lord knows you're going to have a lot of actors going up in the jets for the first time, probably getting sick, and yeah. I'm excited just for that. I just want to go to see the movie, to go see the jets, to go see them flying in jets and the way that they're going to shoot those, because, man, they already look so good. They already look so good as far as the cinematography is concerned. Zachariah315, when I was a kid, our dog always hid under the bed during thunderstorms. Aw, that's always so sad. Let's see, commenting is dangerous. But Odin, how can it be bad if women can do no wrong? It is definitely a paradox. Bashy Washy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thunder Duck, thank you for being here again. Remember, at Odin, just put at Odin at the very beginning of your comment. I'm trying to make it very consistent as much as I possibly can. And of course, if you're a member on the channel, you don't have to worry about tagging. It's one of the perks of being a member. By the way, Nico Blue, 4K Key, thank you for becoming a member at the Army of Asgard level. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Physics Channel with Kenny Lee says, I did enjoy Black Widow, but the movie has many problems with the story and the reality of the action, especially taking their take on gravity. Yeah, again, as I said, I have no problem if anyone enjoyed the movie. I will not go after you for enjoying the film. The issue comes up because there's a lot of people doing it, right? I'm not calling out anyone individually. If I came across that way, I apologize. That was not my intention, because I don't like and don't want to call out any person who's a part of the Asgardian community. But there are indeed a lot of people. We see this already with the critics and people online in general, on social medias and everything, where people are, I think, trying to have the argument that the movie is an objectively good film. But then when you point out the various clear flaws that this film has, there really is not a really good response to it. And I think that that's something that, and that's why for me, whenever I recognize any type of flaw in or rather, whenever I notice a bias, and I'm not saying that people who like the film are biased, but whenever I find that I have a bias, so I always mention Thor. I always mention the Thor films. Like, for instance, Thor: The Dark World. It's an objectively bad movie, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with it. But I still know that it's a bad movie. Let's see. Laura says, I look forward to seeing more pew in the MCU, though. Trying to look on the bright side because the third act of Black Widow was horrible. And again, I would be excited if I didn't know that the MCU was already just not going in a good direction. So I'm not really excited for that reason alone. However, I would say this about Florence Pugh. I'm excited for any of her other projects. Because in this movie, for her to be in a film like this, as bad as it is, and to be this shining bright light in a sea of crap, it's worth commending. It is absolutely worth commending. And I think that it says so much about her capacity as an actor. It says a lot about her ability. So I can't wait to see the other films that she does, because she is an incredibly talented person. She is an incredibly talented person. Anyway, let's see. Fat-headed Druid says, I regard Odin as the moral compass of Friday Night Tights. I'm definitely not... I have my own faults. Lakeland. Odin and X-Ray Girl are having a competition to see who can be quiet on Friday Night Tights. Now, I think we can at least admit that I'm a lot more talkative than she is. JM Cruz says, saying that a person enjoyed the movie doesn't mean it was good. And exactly. If someone says they enjoy it, that's a subjective opinion. And everyone has a right to their subjective opinion. Everyone has a right to their opinion. And I have no problem if anyone has an opinion. The issue comes in when it becomes a talk about objectivity, right? About the film being an objectively good movie. There is no real argument to say that on the whole, it's an objectively good film. One could point out probably things that are objectively good, but it is very clearly going to be lost in the translation of the editing, cinematography, and story. And remember, I always say this too, story is one of the biggest things. If you don't have a good story, you can't have a good movie. You need to have a good story to have a good movie. And this story has so many issues within it. I mean, it's hard for anyone to really be able to say the story at the very least is good. Gonzalo, I feel like Black Widow is a good movie for a Sunday afternoon matinee that if you find channel surfing might be a good option. I feel like that might be how a lot of people look at it. Peabody says, yes, Ode is very interactive with the chats. That's why we come back. Well, thank you again for everyone for always being here. And yeah, I always try and keep my mind focused on the chat, you know? And that's why one of the things that I really like about this community is the fact that I'm able to read the chats. You don't have to donate. You don't have to super chat. And again, that's not a dig about any other channels. I just like the fact that the channel is the size that it is, where we're able to, by the way, 75 people watching this early in the morning. Well, thank y'all for being here. Smash that like button, please. But the fact that we're able to have a community small enough where I can read almost all of the chats as long, and again, the only thing I ever ask is that people tag and that they use the correct tag of @Odin at the very beginning of the comment. And also that we're able to go up all over the place as well. All right, we had a comment over on Odyssey. Jacques Le Suave. Has anyone brought up how Romanoff only talked about her mother, not mention of her father? These people really resent men, don't they? See, I didn't really even pick up on that because even in my review, I said I could go into all of the things that are seen as woke or whatever. You know, like I could probably, you know, break that down. But it's like, I'm not going to because I don't really feel like I need to. I feel like there's so many other things that we can look to in the story even where we don't even have to address those problems and those issues. FB Sunny, welcome to the chat. JD Buck says, Scott Mendelperson, you bigots. Yes, of course, of course. Peabody says, and we do love our Odin. If we don't agree, still all good. And again, I still love you, dude. I still love you, Mr. Peabody. You are my Aussie brother, dude. Fluffy Panda, welcome to the chat. Brightburn 1985. I have had a 4K player for a while now, and I've noticed when I put a DVD into it, it immediately bypasses all the previews. I just see a 4K TV now, and my 4K setup will be complete. Nice. Okay, Brightburn, that's awesome. However, why would you ever want to watch a DVD on a 4K player on a 4K TV? I know that there's some movies that have not yet been released on Blu-ray or 4K, but come on, man. Come on, man. Chris Wandry, what's going on? Trent Johnson, thank you for tagging. He says, I usually go to your square on Friday Night Tights just so I can see how much you are dying on the inside. That's a little morbid, I would say. I mean, if one really did look into the history of the shows, I'm sure there's several moments. I'm sure that if Perry Chan wanted to, he could look back at the footage and he could have a whole compilation of hello, darkness, my old friend, of me just dying on the, as you said, dying on the inside. Yeah, there's been a couple episodes where I'm just like, ooh. Let's see. Laura Story says, the wife has never seen the MCU, so she is starting tonight with Iron Man. It'll be interesting to see her response to the films, because Iron Man is fantastic. I think Iron Man very much still holds up. It'll be interesting to have someone who is watching them now in 2021 with, I guess, some hindsight, maybe some knowledge of events, to see what she thinks about, especially the transition to the Disney era, if she notices a difference. Because as someone who was just going through the motions as they were happening, the transition, I think, wasn't nearly as... there wasn't as much of a difference, I think. It seemed a lot more seamless. I think looking back in retrospect, we can see a lot more of, oh, that was a red flag. But like at the moment, at the time, I think it was a little harder to see because we were just so much enjoying the movies, right? We were just so enjoying these characters being brought onto the big screen. We were just enjoying these stories being brought out there. And in the very beginning of it was done very well, right? There was this very strong connection and conjunction with the comic world too. And then at some point, there was just this break that happened. Anyway, JM Cruz says, there are some jokes in Friday Night Tights that won't appeal to the religious. I noticed most of your reactions ever since I first watched you guys late last year. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be things that are going to bother me, but I still love them. I still love my Friday Night Tights family, and I legit pray for them. And they're all awesome, great people. They're all amazing human beings at their core, too. So it makes it very easy to be around them and to talk with them, even when I'm uncomfortable, even with some of the things that they say make me uncomfortable, because of just how amazing they are. By the way, there will be a Friday Night Tights shirt coming out soon. It's not going to be in like an official capacity of, officially from a Friday Night Tights store or anything like that, but there is a shirt. And if any of y'all know Geeks and Gamers, y'all know Tugs, because there was a poster that was released. It's the one that was inspired by Reservoir Dogs, and it looks awesome. And she was like, please make this a shirt. And I was like talking to Gary in the Friday Night Tights crew. I'm like, hey, would y'all mind if it's like, yeah, go ahead. Because Gary, he takes a little bit longer on some things sometimes. But anyway, be on the lookout for that. I'm just doing some final touches on it because X-Ray Girl was like, oh, what are the women's shirts options? And so once I get that done, hopefully I'll be able to get some color options too. That should be available. But if you've seen the Reservoir Dogs inspired poster, it looks awesome. It looks fantastic. And I can't wait. I can't wait. Speaking of which, there is a new shirt that is inspired by Friday Night Tights. Shout out to Banshee, the artist. And that is Pizza Time Odin. There is now a shirt for Pizza Time Odin over on my Teespring. So go check out the Teespring to check that out. I got bought my sample the other day, so it should be coming in the next week or so. But yeah, go ahead and check that out and get your shirt today. By the way, I do want to shout out Corvus6, who did the artwork for it. And let me go ahead and actually do a window share. This one right here. So this is going to be put on a shirt, and it looks epic and awesome. And again, shout out to Corvus6 for this amazing artwork. So yeah, this is the one that I'm working on right now. And I think it's going to look pretty awesome. It already looks awesome by itself. I mean, look at the detail on that. Look at my beard. My beard, it's glorious. It's got the bald head and everything. Looks fantastic. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. All right. We're about at the hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and try and read as many comments as I can, but baby boy usually starts to wake up at this point. So let me see how much I can get through. See, Physics Channel says, Taskmaster, the movie was terrible. The comics Taskmaster was a great character. Video game version was great too. Let's see. Callum Cannon says, it can't be our fault that we all saw everything coming. It was so predictable. Yeah, exactly. It was even if people had not been given the spoilers of the film, I think people could have easily figured out the plot twist based on how they set it up. Bashy Washy. Even here, there is hardly people showing up for it. Was max 80 people at the cinema. That can house 480 people, lowest 80 people. I will say this much. There are people are showing up for it. I saw it on Friday morning, and it was in the IMAX screen, and it wasn't packed, but I mean, for a Friday morning, it was filled with people. It's like filled with like 20 to 40 people, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but again, for a Friday morning show during a work week, I think that's a pretty impressive number, especially during pandemic times. But people are definitely showing up for it. I won't deny that much. It's how many people will show up for it, and will they be able to make up the massive... Because here's the biggest issue. Everyone's saying these are massive numbers for pandemic times. And that is true. They are massive numbers for pandemic times. The issue is that the movies cost the same. So if the movies still cost an insane amount of money, and they're only doing well for pandemic times, it puts them pretty much to inevitably be at a loss, to inevitably lose money. And again, I'll be able to make some predictions next week. Mike Healy. How much do you think Venom 2 makes opening weekend? Again, I personally am not into the game of predicting opening weekend numbers because I think that those numbers are always incredibly difficult to actually, make. But if we're looking at the numbers right now and when that film comes out, the box office will probably be in a little more healthy position. I would say probably domestically between 50 and 100 million would be my guess. But don't quote me on that. I don't like making those kinds of predictions. M. Tax Shark, who's a member, says, absolutely, Cuba Libre, indeed. Jam Cruise, that scene in the Red Room where Harvey Weinstein villain was talking with Natasha and Skeletor took off her mask and it looked so edited, I laughed my butt off because it was so badly CGI'd. Yeah. I will say this much. The first time I was watching it, didn't notice that CGI, to be perfectly honest. I knew that it wasn't her because that is not her form, but I actually really didn't notice that as much. Probably because of the editing, to be honest. Trent Johnson. I saw that thanks, Mr. Memology 101. Oh, about the scenes online? Tina B says, Stephanie told me last night, and I said, I hope they tear Cuba apart. Finally, I still remember when their old dictator died in the celebrations in Miami. Yeah, I hope that they can finally bring about some sense of freedom in that country. Michael Hickson says, what's the story with the katana in your back right corner? So yeah, it's a wooden katana, and it was actually from college. I had a friend who also had one, and we were planning on training together, and then it just never really came to fruition. And then I lost it for like years. It got somewhere lost in my parents' house. My parents were doing some cleaning, and so they found it, and were like, hey, look what we found. You were looking for this for years. I'm like, I was. And then I was going to try and do something with it this summer, and then stay-at-home dadding, baby Thor got in the way, but I think it was a lot more important than that. But hopefully one day. Trent Johnson. It's funny the many different personalities dogs have. It is. It really is. Peabody says, that's because River loves you and wants to be ready to defend you. Yeah, but then it also leads to her, like, screeching like a banshee. So, just Elizabeth Lyons. Oh my goodness, biology is sexist. Seriously, right? All right, let's see. Tina B. Is Rachel Weisz playing Miss Taskmaster? And it's, not Rachel Weisz. It's Olga. Her name is Olga. Plays her. No, Rachel Weisz plays a character who randomly, after years of serving Mr. Pheromone, randomly decides to become good. In a big twist that still doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay. Elizabeth Lyons says, Maverick would be fantastic in IMAX. Yeah, I'm going to do the very best that I can to see that movie in IMAX because it looks fantastic. Common Angel says, train your dog to be cool with guns being shot, and they usually don't freak out about thunder or lightning or fireworks. Well, actually, I'm not much of a gun person. So, Father says, Haley Atwell, Agent Carter, is currently dating Tom Cruise. Save Haley. Oh, no. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Actually, save them both, to be honest. Save them both. Because I think, as in control as he seems, I think he is very much being controlled by Scientology. Captain Spire, welcome to the chat, good sir. Peabody, yes, indeed. Cannot wait to see those behind the scenes for sure. No doubt about it. Alrighty. Jam Cruise, no one's talking about how they destroyed the Red Guardian character also. They made a Russian Captain America into a dumb buffoon. Oh, yeah. They made him into a bumbling buffoon. For sure. A bumbling buffoon. And also, when you look to it, what are the male characters in this movie? Bumbling buffoon, sexist Harvey Weinstein pheromone guy, and soy, I'm going to get your mail, but I'm an arms dealer, helper of Scarlett Johansson's character. Those are the three main guys in the movie. Yeah. I would say that there's definitely some agenda there. But again, you don't even have to go there with this movie. There are enough objective issues in the film to go around. General Wingster says, I agree with you on Thor 2. It's my least favorite Thor film, but I'll take it over Captain Marvel or Black Panther. Oh yeah, for sure. As far as entertainment value, I enjoy that a lot more for sure. Marby Dog, welcome. Gonzalo, thank you for tagging me. Says, well, it's easy to be more talkative than X-Ray. She's not allowed to. She is allowed to. She is. But she's also the producer, so she's doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And so she doesn't have as much time to talk for that reason. Brightbird985 says, I heard because of the fact Mission Impossible 7 and No Time to Die were delayed so much, people are hungry for spy films, and Black Widow is something of a spy film, but it's like Moonraker. That's the thing, though, is that I would say it's not, because the numbers, even though they're impressive for pandemic times, aren't as good as they need to be at this point to make money back, because it costs so much to make. And it's not an objectively good film. So, Commenting is Dangerous says, we are allowed our opinion even if we like David Lynch films? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Father says, the downside of the explosion of Friday Night Tights is that unless your super chat is over $50, it doesn't have a good chance of getting read live. Yeah, I mean, it is a sad thing, but I think people understand, the position that we're in with the thousands of people watching. We try and make it as fair as we can. We try and make it as fluid as we can as well. Because that's the other thing too, is that because there are so many of us on and we're trying to also have conversations, if we were to do every single super chat live, you could see how that could cause some issues. Thunderduck says, it's 4 p.m. over here in Berlin, Germany. That's a nooner. Oh, Thunderduck. Hello. Thank you for joining in Germany. Punk Waddle, what's going on? Good sir. Thanks for being a member on the channel. Appreciate it. Elizabeth Alliance says, that's one of the issues of Friday Night Tight. I enjoy it and chatting in the chat. I just wish that people would acknowledge comments in the chat, not just when money is given. And yeah, obviously that's something where, I wish it too, but I understand why we can't. I understand why it's, again, when you think about logistics, it would be logistically impossible to acknowledge everyone. I think that that's something where it's an issue of logistics. But I think we do the best that we can with the size that we have. John Connors, welcome to the chat, good sir. All righty, let's see. Ba-da-ba-ba-dum-bum. Thank you all for slowing down a little bit because I do need to head out pretty soon. Andrew Hoyle says, just looking on her wiki, and Florence Pugh is in the upcoming not Hawkeye Disney Plus series. Again, she's going to be fine. She'll be great, but Soul Extraction, not sure if my membership upgrade went through. This page shows that it did, but the upgrade page says it had an issue and didn't work. I saw it mentioned in the chat, but then it didn't show up in my Streamlabs. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that Soul Extraction, but I will say thank you nonetheless for upgrading that membership. I appreciate it, man. Whether it went through or not, I still appreciate you for being a member. Physics Channel says, praying for Friday Night Tights fam. Yes, Odin, they need all the help they can get. Yes, indeed. As all of us do. What's a woman shirt? I didn't know how to say it. It's the thing, You know how there's the standard t-shirts, but then there's like the female cut shirts, and there's like it's a different material, but it's also a different shape. That's what I meant by that. Let's see. Peabody says, I would have to say Iron Man 1 is my favorite MCU. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think Iron Man 1 is probably one of the best made, and also it still holds up. I mean, when you think about when that film came out, the technology they had at the time, the CGI in that movie looks better than a lot of what's coming out recently. The CGI in that movie is a hell of a lot better than Black Widow's. Furry Kitten. Women wear shirts. What? Women wear shirts, you say? Father then says, who's the one at the very end? X-Ray Girl. You sexist. How dare you? How dare you? Thank you. Yes, in that picture especially, it is incredibly epic. How3000, welcome back to the chat. Thank you for being here today. JGeekBuck76 says, the 133rd Psalm mentions brotherhood and beards. Look it up. Ooh, nice. Very nice. Very nice. Mags, what's going on? Thank you for joining today. And thank you for catching live. Appreciate it. First time seeing you in the chat. Appreciate it. Let us see. Trent Johnson says, no, it was about the Cuba protest. Oh, okay. Oh, the video. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, context is always important. Jedi Knight, what's going on? We are getting close to the end. Blake St. Clair, Odin used to moonlight as a vampire hunter. It's a boken. Oh, is that what it's called? I just call it a wooden samurai sword or a wooden katana. Let's see. Peabody says, it's sort of refreshing. Usually I have to get up at 7 a.m. for Odin's stream. And that's why I love doing these morning streams. That's why I love the Good Morning Asgard streams. I'll have another one on Wednesday. And then OMB Report talking about news and politics on Thursday morning, same time. So if you enjoy this one, be on the lookout for those. And make sure y'all smash that like button. At this point, I feel like if you actually care to see this movie, you've already seen it. Is my logic with that. So I don't mind spoiling things. Because also, to me, it's not really spoilers. I feel like anything that you could have possibly guessed about this film, you would have been able to figure out even watching the movie itself. So, Alice McCarthy, what's going on? It's good, sir. We're getting towards the end. So, Michael Hickson, never trust a gun runner who also brings your mail. It probably contains explosives. Yeah, again, the whole like, oh yeah, arms dealer, but I'll bring you your mail. Oh boy. Andrew Hoyle says, Tiny Tom Thumb Cruise uses his Scientology lizard powers on all these women he dates to suck the life force from them, and it's what keeps him young. Ah, I see. JKD Bug, Odin, your Boken wooden sword will warp being stored like that, stored horizontally like a fishing pole. It's been stored for like years improperly, so I appreciate it. But 91 watt. Wait, what? We got up to 91? We're at 93 people. 93 people in a morning stream. What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Let's see if Odyssey fam's over there. Jacques Lesoir says, yeah, it sucks that the future quality MCU appears to be pretty hopeless, but I'm at least thankful we got a ton of amazing movies. I couldn't have imagined such a phenomenon even possible when I was a kid. Don't be sad it ended, be happy that it happened. Jacques, I think that's a great outlook on it, to be honest. Yeah, we got a lot of great movies. We got a ton of great films. It's sad that it has come to this really bad end and it looks like it's going to continue to go downhill. Like that is, I think, of course, really sad. But, yeah. Tube U, what's going on over on Odyssey? Appreciate you being here, man. All right, so I do really need to wrap things up. I think I'm almost caught up in the chat. Grandmaster Yoda says, have you seen Escape Plan? No. And isn't that one with Stallone? If it is, I don't really have interest in seeing it, to be honest. Everybody knows Scarlett Johansson only wants the KFC potato and gravy, not in it for the money. There it is, Peabody. There it is, Peabody. That's why you like the movie. All you could think about was her and some KFC and gravy. Now, she's not Mandy. All right. We got to make that very clear. All right. She's no Mandy. But I'd forgotten about that. It all makes sense now. It all makes sense now. But yeah, for the 4 people who disliked, I'm sorry. Trent Johnson, you think men and women have different body shapes? How dare you? How dare you? All righty. Let us see the last comments. Tina B, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for being here this morning, too. JKDX76, Odin, be sure to put a light coating of linseed oil on the Boken. It preserves the wood. Again, this is assuming that I'm even going to use it. I mean, I'm so far behind. I've had this thing for probably close to a decade now, and I've not done anything with it. Now, it was lost for about 8 out of those 10 years, but oh, a little sus, you say. 90 watching, 100 likes. Well, that just means that there's been 100 people overall watching at some point. JM Cruz, good night to you. Thank you again for being here. Alice McCarthy, the king of liking bad movies. Of course you thought Escape Plan is awesome. Of course you thought it's awesome. You thought Black Widow was a good movie. Sorry, Alex. But to be honest, Alice McCarthy, there are worse films that Alex McCarthy likes than Black Widow. Black Widow is not the worst film that Alex McCarthy likes. Much love to you, though. Much love to you. The R coming in with us. That's super chat. He says, Dems, better get those Cubans in line or else true Americans will know what they are up to. And I'm in the 305, so I would know. Oh, dang. Yeah. And you know what? I hope it all blows up. And let me just put it this way. Everyone's, talking about Trump and everything like that. I'm just like, I don't like his personality. That's just me. too abrasive for me. But I looked at what the governor of Florida is doing right now, DeSantis, and if the stuff like this with Cuba keeps going on, I'm just going to put it out there. DeSantis could be a contender. Linseed oil. Did I mispronounce it? Jedi Knight, I did see it, indeed. But I do need to wrap things up. Andrew Hoyle coming in. I'd like to see a Boken backstory movie and what it did for those missing 8 years. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty boring. It'd just be, sitting there and doing nothing. But anyway, Damn Milwaukee 55, thank you so very much for being here. I appreciate you for listening on the road. But that is going to be it for me today, everybody. So thank you all so very much for being here. Baby Thor is starting to stir, so I really do need to end things for today. Again, thank y'all on Odyssey. If y'all can light up that fire button before y'all go, I appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube, make sure y'all smash that like button. And again, thank y'all so much. Can't believe we had at one point like 100 people watching this early. I appreciate it. Check out my website, ombreviews.com, if you want to find out my streaming schedule for the summer. My next stream will be tomorrow night for the One Man Low Council. Same place. Different time, of course, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And the next Good Morning Asgard stream will be on Wednesday morning, same time. So if you like this time slot and you like the conversation, think about coming back. Drop it a like as well. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can check out my Locals account. I now have a Locals account, and I have 3 members over there. Shout out to Bifford Hobbit for being my newest Locals member over there. And it's my Keeper of the Bifrost level. So if you know about my Patreon or Subscribe Star, it's the same perks as you would get at the Keeper of the Bifrost level. And there's a pinned post over my Locals that has explanations about what you would get over there. So again, you guys are awesome. And also, shirts. Got a new shirt, Pizza Odin. Check it out on my Teespring, Pizza Odin. And there will be a Friday Night Tights themed shirt coming out on the store very soon. Hopefully at some point today. Depends on how things go with Baby Thor. But again, thank you all so very much for being here today. Smash that like button. Much love to you all. And again, a lot of y'all coming from the Friday Night Tights crew. Thank y'all so very much for supporting Friday Night Tights. It's always a great time to see y'all in the chat over there and talk to y'all. And I really do appreciate all of the love and all of the support today. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. Y'all are an amazing group of people. And, oh, wait, I almost forgot. Sorry, I almost did it again. I have to shout out my YouTube members who are at the Army of Asgard level and above. And actually, that should also help us figure out whether or not that upgrade went through to Soul Extraction. Because I know he had asked about it. This should tell me whether or not they went through or not. So, sorry everybody, I needed to check it out. And Soul Extraction, boom, there you are, right at the very top. It says it went through, at least according to this. So a shout out to all of my YouTube members at the Army of Asgard level and above. Soul Extraction, Nico Blue, N4 Key, George Moilo, Mondo Spieler, Grim's Math, Riff Mangos, Wicked Plumber, Sean McD, Gomer Kyle 79, Your Muslim Uncle, Kara Tharp, Eric Jewett, Rich the Savior, Dad Name Walking 55, M Tack Shark, Forever, Sci-Fi, Rosie G12, Andrew Hoyle, Eric K, Orange Chat Reviews, Adam Avery, Jay Stowe, and Aiden Vickery. Thank you all very much for supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. You're all great. Now, you are all amazing and beautiful people. Sorry, so sorry. Oh, wait. Sorry button.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Haven't played that one in a long time. But anyway, you guys are great. Wonderful day, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my July Patreon and Subscribe Star members. Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Chat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina B, and Tina Bojan. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on Patreon, and also to my Subscribe Star members, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J. Ra, the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. And I also want to make sure to shout out my Locals members. I am now available over at locals.com, and I've got 2 monthly supporters over there. The first of my local supporters is Goblin Squatch. Shout out to you, good sir. And also, I now have a second supporter over on locals.com, and that is Robert Barnes. Shout out to both of you very much. Thank you very much for supporting me on that new platform at the Keeper of the Bifrost level. If you want to find out more information about that, go check out my Locals page. You can find the link in the description, and it tells you everything that you would get in that Keeper of the Bifrost level, which is right now the only level available on that platform. And I also want to make sure to shout out any new Patreon members. And for right now, I want to shout out Mondo Spieler, who is my newest member over on Patreon. Thank you all very much for being here today. And if you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video on the channel, please make sure to check out the links in the description of ways that you can support me over on Patreon and Subscribestar as well. It gives you access to things like giveaways of Blu-rays, 4Ks, and digital codes. Also, access to a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun. We also answer Q&A questions as well. And also you might get access to the Chosen of Valhalla level, which gives you access to a once-a-month podcast exclusively where I bring on you to the main channel with everyone else who is at the level, and we all just talk about movies, pop culture, and tons of fun stuff like that. And also, of course, Tina, who is the Empress of the Universe, is going to give us tons of reviews of movies and also maybe a couple of awesome rants here and there as well. So if that sounds fun to you, make sure you go ahead and check out those links. Again, you're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.